It was a night that should have passed like any other, unnoticed, uneventful.
The air was cold. The streets were still. And inside a quiet home in Setagaya,
Unaware that within a few hours, everything they knew, everything they trusted, would be erased. Because the most terrifying crimes don't begin with chaos, they begin with silence. And before we go deeper into this story, ask yourself something. If someone commits an unthinkable act, something violent, something irreversible, what do they fear most? Being caught, being seen, being remembered?
so they run, they disappear, they erase every trace of their presence. But what kind of person does none of that?
What kind of person stays behind, as if they were never afraid in the first place? December 30th, 2000. The Miyazawa family was at home. Takehiro Miyazawa, a father, a husband, a man living an ordinary life. His wife Yasuko, caring, attentive, someone who made that house feel like a home.
And their children, Nina and Ray, young, full of life, with futures that stretched far beyond that night.
The house stood near a park, in a neighborhood that felt safe, predictable, the kind of place where danger felt distant, almost impossible. But sometime in the late hours of the night, when the world had gone quiet, someone entered that home. Not by force, not with noise, but with precision.
Slipping in through a second-floor window, a detail that suggests planning, awareness, maybe even familiarity.
There was a moment, a pause, as if the intruder was listening, deciding, watching. And then, Ray, the youngest, encountered the intruder first. And in that instant, the calm of the home shattered. What followed wasn't random chaos. It was controlled violence, deliberate, focused. Each tried to resist, and in those moments, the house became something else entirely. Not a home, but a space filled with fear,
Confusion, and the desperate instinct to survive. The struggle moved through the rooms, leaving behind signs.
But even within that chaos, there was something deeply unsettling, something that didn't fit. Because once it was over, once the violence stopped, the story should have ended there, but it didn't. Instead, it became something far more disturbing because the killer didn't leave. They remained inside that house for hours, moving through rooms that no longer held life.
Using the bathroom, leaving behind evidence, not trying to hide it, not trying to clean it, just leaving it, as if it didn't matter.
Do you really think they'll come back for us?
It doesn't matter. Just eat.
And then at some point, they rested, lay down, stayed. And that detail, because it defies instinct, it defies logic. It suggests something beyond fear, beyond urgency, something colder, something detached.
Imagine the stillness of that house in those hours. The silence. The presence of someone who shouldn't be there.
Moving through spaces that should have been empty. Touching objects, leaving traces, existing in a moment that should have ended. It's not just disturbing, it's almost impossible to comprehend. When investigators arrived the next day,
Evidences. There was evidence everywhere. Fingerprints, DNA, clothing, personal items, even the weapon.
they were never found, never named, never caught, and that raises a question that still hasn't been answered. How can someone leave so much behind and still disappear? Investigators analyzed everything, every detail, every trace. The DNA suggested the possibility of mixed heritage, something that narrowed the search, but not enough. The clothing pointed to specific brands.
Items that could be tracked, but nothing led to a person. The food, the way it was consumed, even that was studied.
Every piece of the puzzle examined, but the picture never became clear because every lead, every direction ended the same way, nowhere. As if the killer existed only within that moment, within that house, and nowhere else. Some believe the killer knew the family, understood the layout, their routine, their habits. Others believe it was random, a stranger who chose that house, that night. But neither explanation fully answers the biggest question of all. Why stay? Why remain in a place where every second increases the risk of being caught? Unless they didn't believe they would be caught. Unless they knew something about the timing, the location, the response.
Something that gave them confidence, or something that removed fear entirely. Imagine walking through that house after the crime.
The silence pressing in, the feeling that something is still there. And maybe that's why this case continues to haunt people. Because it doesn't just tell a story of violence. It tells a story of behavior that doesn't make sense. Behavior that challenges what we think we understand about fear, about guilt, about human instinct. And then, at some point, the killer did leave.
Quietly, without urgency, stepping out into the cold, into a world that had no idea what had just happened, blending into the environment.
I have to become just another face, another person, another presence in a world. But as time passes, that hope becomes more fragile. Because some mysteries don't just remain unsolved. And this case is one of them. Because it forces a question that has no easy answer. What kind of person could do this? What kind of person could take lives and then stay behind, as if nothing had changed, as if they belonged there? So now, it's your turn. What do you think really happened inside that house? Who was the person who entered, who stayed, and then vanished? Comment your theory below, because sometimes the answer isn't obvious. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest detail, the one everyone overlooks. And if this story kept you watching, if it made you feel that tension, that unease, that need to understand, don't stop here. Like this video, share it with someone who loves true crime, and subscribe to Dia Saga, because the next story might be even more disturbing. And remember, the scariest part of this case isn't just the crime, it's what came after. Because the killer didn't run.